Welcome to Wallace and Wire today. We're talking about a single statement, just one comment, really, that unexpectedly seemed to ignite this massive conversation across Malaysia.
Yeah, it was quite something.
It really revealed more than just, different takes on economics. It felt like it exposed this huge gap in how reality is perceived.
Absolutely.
We're looking at the government's recent comment on financial aid for the elderly. Specifically, this claim that just RM100 could actually sustain two senior citizens for a whole month. And the public reaction that just, erupted right after. It's more than just politics. It really feels like a window into the daily money struggles many people face.
It's a really telling moment, isn't it? It shows that tricky balance between policy talk and what people are actually living through day to day.
Yeah.
And what's really striking is how this one comment from the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Deputy Minister sparked such a fierce nationwide discussion.
So what exactly did she say? The core of it?
Yeah. Well, she stated that the RM100, which is given out under the Caring Basic Aid Program, that's SARA, the direct aid for lower-income households.
Right, sir.
Yeah. She said that while some might think RM100 is, not much, it could, in fact, meet the monthly living costs for two elderly people.
Wow. Okay, so the official belief was that this RM100, it genuinely holds significant value, enough for two seniors for a month's necessities.
That was the assertion, yes. Her key point really was that for two elderly individuals living together, this amount could cover their basic monthly needs. She stressed that RM100 has great value for managing daily expenses.
Did she give any context? Like, what kind of necessities are we talking about here? A specific bare minimum?
That's the crucial part. She didn't detail a specific list, but the implication was, the absolute basics. She did acknowledge that opinions varied. Some might not need it. Others are very grateful. Some use it for essentials. But the core claim was its sufficiency for two. It kind of suggests a focus perhaps only on a very narrow definition of necessities. Or maybe it assumes other support systems are in place, which wasn't really spelled out.
Right, which is key to understanding why people reacted the way they did.
Exactly.
Was there anything else, like other initiatives mentioned alongside this?
Yes, she did also bring up the Caring Basic Aid Box initiative run by Midin, the supermarket chain.
Ah, okay.
She sort of encouraged people who felt they didn't desperately need the RM100 cash to maybe use it to buy one of these boxes, these essential goods boxes, and donate it to someone else who really needs it.
Interesting. So trying to foster a bit of community support there, too.
Kind of leveraging the aid, yeah. Trying to make it stretch further in a different way.
Okay, so that's the official perspective laid out. But as we said, the public reaction online tells a totally different story, doesn't it? It was immediate and pretty overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. Almost instantly, the comment sections just lit up. The vast majority strong disbelief, disagreement. People started bringing up very practical, daily financial facts.
Yeah, it wasn't just, I disagree. It was quite specific, wasn't it?
Very specific. People immediately went for the calculator, basically.
How so? What were the numbers they were throwing around?
Well, the breakdown was simple but powerful. RM100 divided by 30 days. That's only RM 3.33 a day.
Right.
And then, for two elderly people, that works out to just RM 1.66 per person per day.
Wow. RM 1.66?
Yeah. And that calculation just went everywhere online. It really hammered home for many people how impossible the original claim sounded. They did the math.
When you put it like that, RM 1.66 a day, what did people say you could even buy with that? The examples must have been quite stark.
They were. Very down to earth and often quite, sad, really. People pointed out that even a basic economic bihun, the cheap noodle dish, that can already cost RM4.
Right, so you're already way over budget for the day for one person.
Exactly. Or, breakfast.
Yeah.
2 roti canai, the flatbread, maybe with drinks.
Yeah.
That could easily hit RM4 to RM6. Again, way over the daily limit for one person.
Let alone two.
Let alone two. And people also talked about going to the pasar, the market. A single trip for just basic groceries, people argued, would wipe out that RM100 long before the month or even the week was up.
It just puts that RM 1.66 figure into such sharp focus. And this naturally led to some pretty biting online commentary, some sarcastic suggestions.
Oh, definitely. The sarcasm was thick, but it was really a form of, sharp social critique. It signaled this feeling of being completely unheard, dismissed even.
What kind of things were they suggesting?
Well, you saw jokes, but not really jokes, about diets like eating Maggi noodles every single day, or just plain white rice and eggs, maybe white bread.
Grim humor.
Very grim. Some even went further, suggesting, just drink water, or really extreme things like eat grass or tree leaves to survive. It sounds absurd, but it was this collective bitter way of saying get real,
Yep.
a call for a reality check.
That sarcasm really cuts deep, shows the frustration. And it wasn't just comments, right? There was also this recurring challenge aimed directly at the deputy minister.
Yes, that came up a lot. People saying, essentially, you try it, you live on RM100 for a month, or show us how it's done, demonstrate how two elderly people manage.
Like a demand for accountability, walk the talk.
Exactly. And that fed directly into this widespread feeling that the official was, well, out of touch, completely disconnected from the struggles of ordinary Malaysians.
What kind of comments reflected that?
You saw things like, is she living on Mars? Or simply, doesn't understand the suffering of the common people. Some said the statement felt like it was from decades ago. Like, are we back in the 60s or 70s?
Wow.
That feeling of disconnect was really strong. And, some comments inevitably linked it to her political party, framing it as typical of the talent there, which just shows how these things quickly become politicized.
And I gather there was another layer to this, something about comparing it to international aid.
Yes. That comparison really struck a nerve and amplified the frustration quite a bit.
How so?
Well, many people online brought up recent news about Malaysia giving significant financial aid to other countries. And they drew a direct line between that and this RM100 figure for local citizens.
Oof. So the perception was?
The perception, rightly or wrongly, was a real disparity. Comments like, RM100 for our own people, but hundreds of millions can go to other nations easily. It tapped into this anxiety about national priorities. Where does the focus lie?
Yeah, that would definitely fuel the anger.
It really did.
Now, amidst all this criticism, this wave of negativity, were there any different voices? Did anyone actually appreciate the RM100?
It's interesting. While the overwhelming tide was critical, yes, there were some comments expressing gratitude.
Really?
Yes. Some people did say that, look, any help is welcome, no matter how small, especially for those in really dire straits. So it wasn't universally negative, even if that was the dominant feeling.
So it shows the complexity, the spectrum of need, even among the elderly poor.
Precisely. For some, even that amount might make a critical difference, however small it seems to others.
So if we zoom out a bit, this whole episode, it's not just about RM100. It really feels like a case study in, public perception, political communication, maybe that gap between spreadsheets and real life.
Absolutely. It raises really fundamental questions about how economic reality is understood, measured, and communicated by those in power versus those actually living it.
It's more than just a communication slip-up, then.
I think so. It feels like a potential breakdown in how policies are tested against, the lived reality of citizens. What this shows is how quickly a perceived misstep, a statement that feels out of sync, can damage public trust.
And highlight maybe deeper issues.
Exactly. Issues in how we measure value in welfare programs. It really exposes that fragile link between what a policy intends and how the public receives it. And social media just pours gasoline on that fire, instantly turning a single statement into this huge public judgment on empathy and understanding.
So, yeah, this whole conversation around the RM100, it really throws that tension into sharp relief. The official line versus the day-to-day financial grind, especially for older people.
It does. It highlights this ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
How do you make sure government aid actually lands properly, that it addresses the real cost of living? And crucially, how do public statements reflect that reality?
It seems so vital that they align.
Hugely important. It really calls for a closer look at how policies get made and talked about, to make sure they actually connect with people's lives on the ground. The question becomes, how do we close that understanding gap? How do we make sure policies truly reflect the needs they're supposed to meet?
It's about more than just the money itself. It's about whether the help feels meaningful, respectful of the struggle.
That's a great way to put it, respectful of the struggle.
So what does all this mean, then, going forward? For the whole discussion about economic support, how public opinion shapes these debates here, how do we, as a country, maybe bridge this gap in understanding financial hardship? What lessons are there for policymakers and how they communicate? It feels like a really crucial question for everyone, especially the most vulnerable. What do you, listening to this, think stands out the most here?
It definitely suggests a need for maybe a stronger feedback mechanism, more real consultation perhaps.
Yeah.
Using real-world cost data, not just abstract figures, might help avoid these kinds of disconnects.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about building trust, isn't it? Showing genuine empathy in how the government operates. That's pretty vital.
Absolutely. And the public voice, especially amplified like this online, it's clearly a powerful force. It demands to be heard and, more importantly, understood. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.